Hi, I'm Lily Dedman, Kent Union's Women's Officer, and today I'm with a number of women of faiths. We're going to be discussing what it is like to be a woman in faith. Have you ever had any challenges as a woman in faith?
Yes. Well, it's challenging being a woman of faith and being a minister as well. In the Methodist Church, we are all supposed to be on the same level, male, female, all across the board. But sometimes the men think they're in charge. So, yes, but as a church leader, it's quite a challenging job anyway. But I'm thinking as a person rather than as a minister. I think it's challenging to be in a world that's largely without faith, and to stand up as a person and say, yes, I'm a woman of faith, I'm a person of faith, and because some people ridicule you for it as if it's something that you're supposed to be ashamed of, but I'm actually immensely proud of being a person of faith, woman or person, whichever. Yeah.
So the question was challenges, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna be real. Islam is burdened with negative connotations, especially in this day and age. And for someone who is explicitly Muslim, it's very difficult to go about my daily life because, no, I wouldn't say it's very difficult, but I would say that it's hard for someone to, especially a woman who is just starting to wear hijab, it is very hard for them to accept the fact that people are going to see you and the first thing they see is Muslim. So you are immediately burdened with representation of the entire Muslim community, even though you are just one person. And that's one thing I wanted to say today as well, like a disclaimer, like anything that I say is me. It can be generalizable to the Muslim faith, but it is me, like I'm speaking on my behalf, my interpretation of the religion and how I observe it. Other people observe it differently, and I think the same can be said for all of us. But yeah, the challenges are very secondary because I feel like when you have a connection with God, anything exterior kind of comes secondary, and it was very hard for me to accept it in the beginning, especially like first coming to Parkwood and stuff and being surrounded by all of this, like things which I'm not used to and things which I didn't really grow up in. It was hard for me and it was hard for other people as well because I'm immediately seen as someone pious, whereas you can wear the hijab and be at a basic level of faith as well, which was what I was because I came to uni when I was like 17. So that was I've only started wearing it for like a month and a half. And so I was like, oh, everyone's going to see me as this like holier than thou kind of person, which I'm not. I'm on the same level as everyone. I don't see myself as higher in terms of piety or anything like that just because of my hijab. It's just what we wear and what we do. So the challenges I'd say Muslim women do face, because it's about your physical self and being confident in your physical self to love your spiritual self. But I wouldn't say it's challenging on a daily basis because I don't know, like Joy said, I'm extremely proud to be a woman of faith. So I think that like helps.
Yes, I would say that I don't think I've faced any challenges from people within society. I think within Hinduism, a lot of the challenges are personal challenges that you face, battling like what is the right thing to do not the right thing to do in society, but what society expects of you and what your religion expects of you, and you're forever battling between the two. Well, that's what I found anyway, because society doesn't really have a religion. Everyone goes about following their own religion, their own values. And I think the values that are associated with certain religions completely go against like society values, and not in a bad way, in a good way. But I think that's one of the main challenges that I've faced, is a personal challenge rather than like challenged by other people.
I mean, I'm sure I'm supposed to be the presenter. Like,
I'm quite enjoying it though. So what brought here today?
So how does faith impact gender inequality or equality? Not inequality, equality.
Equality.
Yeah.
Yes. There's gender inequality in the church has been quite widespread for many years. There's a great quote by Mary Daly over, and she said in the 70s of, if God is male, then male is God, and she meant that in a derogatory way, not as as if we see God as male and as a man, then obviously males are made in that image and women are secondary, which I don't think is the way at all. I think equality within God, and God is a gender-full person rather than a genderless or a single-gendered person, or entity, should I say, rather than person. God is much more than that, We are made male, female, all of that in God's image. So God must be part of God's image too. We've had a very patriarchal society throughout all the church history. So it's been a bit of a very quick change into more equality. And especially in the last 40, 50 years, it's changed enormously. And in the Church of England, we've had women priests. I have to say, in the Methodist Church, we've had female ministers since 1890. But there we are. In my tradition, there has been far more equality, but that is getting better and all the time, I think. What was the question? Oh yeah, how does my faith impact that? From a faith point of view, there's a great story in the Bible about Mary and Martha, which you may have heard, you may not have heard it, and Martha is waiting on Jesus, and providing food and being what the woman should have been in that time, and Mary was sat at Jesus' feet taking the place of a disciple, and Jesus was letting her, and this was not a place for a woman, and not a place for a man who wasn't very clever as well. He had to go through many processes and be very clever and be very holy to sit at the feet of a rabbi and be a disciple. And Jesus happily lets this woman. So gender equality is built into the very foundations of Christianity, and we often forget this. So there we are.
In Islam, in terms of reward and punishment, I don't like to use the word punishment, but in terms of reward and punishment, because we do believe in the afterlife, we are seen as completely equal. So both male and female are seen as completely equal in terms of reward and punishment. But I will say that in terms of other things, we're not seen as equal, we're seen as equitable. So women have more rights than men in some aspects, and men have more rights than women in other aspects, because men and women are created biologically different, and to see men and women as the same is ignoring the entire fact of not ignoring the entire fact, is kind of somehow making it backwards, because we are mothers, we are wives, and we carry children, and we give birth to offspring, and men have their other biological differences too. So to see us as the same is, I wouldn't say that's what Islam recognizes, because we do, in the Quran, it's mentioned a lot of times how it's actually easier for women to get into heaven because we are faced with so many biological challenges. And what I mean by that is, like, carrying a fetus in your belly for 9 months is extremely painful. And it's in Islam, we also believe that every time you feel physical pain, that your sins are being diminished, because not all your sins, but like some of your sins are being diminished, because it's don't worry. The pain that we are being endured is both voluntary and involuntary, because we choose to have children for the sake of humanity, and we're also, it's involuntary because only women can bear children and men can't. But yeah, if that makes sense.
So I think within Hinduism, there is still sort of gender inequality, and it is slowly changing, but very slowly. I think the fact that we're one of the religions that worship goddesses, we have a whole sort of 9-day festival that worships goddesses, but with like every other day throughout the year, I think people fail to recognize that. And it's even like within the religion, we have like different strands of Hinduism. So we all kind of believe the same concept, but then everyone has their own strands that they go into. And a lot of these separate strands are sort of headed by a male figure rather than a female figure. And even now, there isn't, like, I can't say like with Christianity that we have female priests. Most priests are still male, and so I think it's still difficult to battle those, like that gender inequality. But at the core of the religion, there really isn't, because we worship both men and women, gods and goddesses alike. Yeah.
So can you use your faith and the community that comes with it to become more equal, or is it too separate, do you think?
I think we can use it to become more equal, as you were saying about equity. We are not all the same, and there are some fundamental differences, although they can be overcome, I think. I think that's a good rule of life anyway, to use equity rather than equality, because we are not all created the same, and some people have different needs to others, and we can't, if we treat everybody the same, then some people will lose out and some people will gain, as we know from society, really. So I think from a community aspect, though, if you come together as a community, you can achieve so much more and use everybody's differences to work for good. I think as individuals we don't do that as well. So myself as an individual, I'd be useless. I'm very good at thinking of great ideas, but not actually following them through, and I'm not a complete finisher. So, I need a community around me to, whether I'm the leader of that community in some ways, that's by the by. We are a community who works together, and we should always be a community who works together, male, female, transgender, gay, straight. Everybody should be, working together as a community with all our wonderful differences.
Okay. Okay. I think one thing that's a little different in comparison to Nandini and Joy is that Islam doesn't have any priests. Like, we don't have higher authority at all in any religion. We have imams, and imams, all they do is lead prayer, and anyone can lead prayer. But the reason why we have imams is because some mosques, they need people because we pray 5 times a day, that you need someone there like constantly. You can't just rely on someone to just come in and lead prayer. But there is no hierarchy in terms of that, and that's we have scholars that are highly respected, but even then no one follows anyone aside from the word of God, because the interpretation of the Holy Book and the stories of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are left for subjective interpretation. It's like when you read a book, right? You don't everyone interprets it differently, and it doesn't invalidate your faith, if that makes sense. So that's why I highlight again, my Islam is not everybody else's Islam. It's different to each person. And what was the point with that again? Oh yeah, so because we don't have leaders, all of our imams are men, and that's because of a biological difference. It's because men Okay, this is very controversial because every time we have a mosque open day, people come and they're like, "Why do women pray behind men?" It's purely biological. I can tell you that. It's because when women are in like prayer, we bow down, and so the bosom of the women is not something that a man should be looking at when he's talking to God, if that makes sense. So that's why we pray behind men, and people see that as like inferiority, but it's purely biological, and it's the same with being an imam as well. Because if you've ever observed a Muslim prayer, it's almost as though the man is singing. So it's very beautiful in like, just like search Quran in recitation and you'll hear like we do that in prayer. And the reason why it's a man and not a woman is because a woman's voice is so much more attractive than a man's voice. So when you're speaking to God, it should just like focus. This is more for men than women, really. This ruling is more for like men than women.
Men can't control themselves.
They can't control themselves, and that's God made them that way. Like, women are men's biggest weakness. I wouldn't say biggest, but it is a weakness. But yeah, what was the original point of saying that again? Oh yeah, the community. So yeah. Because our leaders, what I mean by leaders is our imams, are men. People see it as not equal, but if you truly understand how it is and how we regard the historic Muslim women, like Prophet's wives and the women around the time where Islam came about, we hold them to the same respect, if that makes sense. But yeah, we have a lot of women scholars as well. But I would say definitely it is a male-dominated religion, just like I think every other religion. But that's slowly changing, and there are more women scholars coming about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know if I answered the question or not.
I never really thought about that. Why, like, men? Because it's the same in Hinduism. So we have men praying in a separate area and women praying in a separate area. Never considered that might be the reason why. But I purely thought it was just because men and women weren't allowed to see each other praying or something like that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because with us, it's not that the men pray in front and women pray behind. We're just completely in two separate parts of the temple and two separate rooms. So I've never known why. I've asked my mum so many times. I think a lot of people don't really know why, and I think that is one of the problems with our religion. Like, a lot of people seem to just be blindly following tradition without really questioning why certain things are the way they are. This is completely deviating off topic. In terms of community, I think even within community it is slightly divided, because you will always see the women in the kitchen in the temple and the men doing all the heavy lifting. That sort of division is still there, and I think things like women praying in separate areas to men, women not being allowed in the temple when they're on their periods, things like that. I think these sort of like cultural and traditional values are like not allowing it to be brought together. And I think we need to pass those values in order for it to get better. So yeah, I definitely think that it's a very male-dominated religion as well. And I think at the moment people aren't willing to change because it's just the blind following the blind, and no one's questioning why is it that way. Yeah.
Okay. Should we promote solidarity between women of different faiths?
Yeah, I think that's a given, really. I mean, if we don't learn off each other, we don't have a conversation, then we get division. And we've seen what happens in this country and in other countries when that happens. It causes unrest and it causes fear, which often leads to violence and war, which is not something we should be doing. I do think if more women were in leadership, I think there'd be less wars. But that's just me. I could be wrong. But yeah, I think I'm part of a Women in Faith group that meets together once a month, and we don't talk about differences or being this, or things about the same that are the same within our faiths. We learn from each other and respect each other, and that's the important thing. And we eat together as well, which is, that's also important. Cake is also important, Thank you.
Food is like the universal language. Okay, wait. Yeah, definitely, 100%. We should empower each other all the time, because I think even though we're from different faiths, we understand what it's like to have faith and have that divine connection that you cannot get from anywhere else. But yeah, I think more interfaith, I feel like, would solve a lot of problems as well, because everyone thinks that we're all fighting each other all the time, when it's really not the case anymore. Like maybe back like how many thousand years ago, but not now. So I feel like shut the door. But yeah.
Ever practical.
Thank you, Nandini. Yeah, definitely. I think that's like a very given question, like you said.
Yeah, as with these ladies, 100%. I think the one thing that, although we're from different faiths, the one thing we have in common is that we're women, and we do kind of have similar problems, despite the fact that we're in separate faiths, but we also have similar strengths that we can use to help each other out. So I definitely think that we, like with the communication between faiths as well, it would kind of bring us all together as well, because I know even despite the fact that we follow different faiths, there may be problems that reside between us, and I think the fact that we're all women together, like we're all women, we're all part of that same group, we have something in common, would bring us closer together.
So what do you think women of different faiths can teach each other?
Well, it's hard to know that without actually getting together and doing it. I mean, the group I'm part of, where we usually talk about different things within our religions, well, like festivals or food or something that, we all share in common. We all have to eat, and the differences and why we do that. It's not just we do this and we do this. It is about, actually understanding the underneath of why those beliefs and why those practices are done. And so, yeah, and it just leads to more respect. And, there's never a crossword, never somebody saying, no, that's stupid. Or, there is a respect there, which is, there are people, there is a group of people who want to come together to interfaith work. So hopefully they would have respect and they're not coming to just cause trouble. And we've never had that, actually. It always has been a mutual respect. So I think the goal should be that should be a wider conversation, and not just a few people once a month. It should be a wider conversation. Maybe we should do that on campus a little bit more.
I think I'm going to openly admit, but one thing that I feel this being faith and belief representative for Kenyan is that I really wanted to do more interfaith things. Yeah. We did one, and it wasn't even organized by me. It was organized by Stephen from the Anglican chaplaincy, and we were talking about life after death. Sounds so like serious, but it was really good. Like, it was really nice to see all of us talk about life after death, and it was so different amongst, like, with Christianity and Islam it's very similar, but with Judaism and Buddhism and Hinduism, life after death is completely different, and it was just so refreshing to see another perspective, another way of life, and it was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. And one thing that I didn't manage to do is do it again from like a a student perspective as well, because I feel like faith is going extinct within students, because I feel like it's much harder for you to and that's the thing, it's like it's more of like a human constraint that you've put on your head, because faith can give you limitations, but you're viewing faith as a glass half empty instead of a glass half full. Because for me, my faith gives me so much freedom, but I can understand because I've only come to my faith about 4 years ago, is that at first I viewed it as something that limited me, but now I see it as something that brings me so many new horizons. So I feel like having all of us talk about it together and kind of advocating faith, if that makes sense, and not making it sound so dull and boring all the time, like. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoy my faith and I question it so much, and that's when I become closer, is when I'm critical of it. And yeah.
What was the question again?
So I said, can women of different faiths teach each other anything?
Yeah, I think it's really important, because we've seen today just how diverse each religion really is and how many different views there are, that I think that if we communicate with each other, if we share our own views on our religion with each other, it just broadens your mindset as well and makes you open to a few more things, rather than like being so strict and like controlled by just one thing and one element. I think by learning from each other, we can go on to not question our own religion, but think, well, if this is happening in Islam, why aren't Hindus doing this? Because it seems the right way of living. Because after all, religion is just not a set, I don't want to say a set of rules, but it is just something that we follow. Because for me anyway, it's something that I follow because that's what I've been brought up with. And I know a lot of people that just follow things and don't ask why we follow those things. And I think by communicating with other faiths, we get to know and get a few other answers to questions that you might be having. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for watching this panel for International Women's Week. If you enjoyed this, check out more of our events at UKC Women. And if you'd like to check out more panels, check out KTV's Facebook page.